Today's episode of The Real Deal with Damian Adams is brought to you by the 3-Point Conversion. The 3-Point Conversion is the best sports media company out there. When you want to get your updates as quickly as possible when it comes to basketball, football, baseball, boxing, hockey, NASCAR, any sport you could think of, the 3-Point Conversion is there with your updates and also with your in-depth and articles that just make you think. The best writers in the nation from all over the country work for 3pointconversion.com. So go ahead and follow 3-Point Conversion on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter because it's where fans' opinions matter. Thank you for listening to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. This is Real Sports Talk for the Real Sports Fan. And I definitely appreciate all you real sports fans who are listening right now. If you're listening on iTunes, thank you. Go ahead and share the podcast with your friends and give us that 5-star rating at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That 5-star rating will definitely be appreciated. If you're listening on the 3-Point Conversion station on Spreaker Radio, thank you to you as well. The 3-Point Conversion station is where fans' opinions matter. So if you think the show is hot, go ahead and shout it out and be proud that you think the show is a beast. If you think the show can improve, please be constructive with your criticism. I am a gentle soul, but I do need your constructive criticism to be great, and I do want to be great at this. So please let me know how you feel about the show either way on either platform. And I'm excited about today's show. We have another bonus episode. And the reason I did this bonus episode today is that we're in a weird part of the sports season, right? Mid-July, you still have NBA Summer League. You got the WNBA, baseball, soccer. But it's kind of a dry spot for most fans out there. And I was thinking, for these fans who are in this dry spot where there's not that much for them to watch, what can they do? Well, they can watch past sporting events over. And there's some sporting events that are just perfect to rewatch. And that's why today's episode is called Rewatchables. We're going to count down our top 5 most rewatchable sporting events of all time. And of course, I'm not doing this by myself. I got 2 special guests on the phone line with me today for this bonus episode. Let me first introduce you guys to the Rookie of the Year when it comes to this sports podcast game. This guy right here, you might see him on your local basketball court, getting all the rebounds, taking all the charges, setting all the good screens, making good inbound passes, all the fundamental things that you don't think about. That's what he's doing on the court. He's a 5'10 backup power forward, PJ Tucker with a beard. You know what I'm saying? This man does it all on the court. He hosts a podcast called Call It What You Want. Every time I hear that name, I think about the uncle in the back of the pie, in the back of the barbecue at the spades table talking about, you can call it what you want, but that's a book right there. I'm a big fan of his show. He's been on the show before. What's going on, J.Oden?
Oh, man, not much, man. Appreciate that intro. I mean, just so y'all know, I got some good inbound passes, but I also got some handles, too. I can't back up power forward at my old age, but I definitely appreciate that.
And the other guest I have on the show is somebody whose family is also, man. He's been on the show several times, sometimes doing regular episodes, sometimes bonus episodes. He is a real deal veteran. He is half of the Red Zone Live with Kelly and Rashan. He is my sexy brother. As heterosexual men, we don't say it enough to each other, but these are 3 sexy gentlemen you listen to right now, right? And I'm man enough to say my 2 guests are sexy. PJ Tucker with a beard, that's sexy right there. My man Rashan coming through with all the sex appeal from the Red Zone Live. What's going on, Rashan?
Yes, sir. What's up, man? I like to think of myself as a young Michael Jackson, the black Michael Jackson, not the light skin one. What's going on, Damien? What's up, my man? How you doing? Oh, bless, bro. How about yourself? I'm hanging in there, man. Excited about this show. Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, before we get into it, let's start with you, J.O. Where can people listen to your show, and where can they find you on social media?
Oh, man, you can listen to the show on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. You can also listen to the show on our website at tiwwpodcast.com. And you can also check it out on Google Play. You can also check it out on SoundCloud. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can get in touch with me on Twitter at Oden2218. That's ODEN2218. Also, you can get in touch with me on Instagram at J.Oden2218. And that's about it.
Yes, sir. Make sure you follow this man on Twitter. Really good follow. Rashan, we definitely got to add this man to our boxing conversations. He's a big boxing fan as well.
Oh, yeah.
So we definitely got to add him into those. Now, Rashan, where can people find the Red Zone Live? And where can they find you on social media?
Oh, man. You guys can find me on Twitter at BabyBlack1977. But you can follow the Red Zone Live every Friday from 7 to 9. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus past few weeks. You know, I've been busy, Kel's been busy, but we definitely going to get back to it. So it's going to be every Friday from 7 to 9. You can catch us on our sponsor station at goingfor2.com. You also can catch us on Twitter at the Red Zone Live.
Yes, make sure you follow both of these gentlemen. Great follows. Make sure you listen to both those shows because I'm a fan of both shows. And I'll listen to everything. All right? I'm not just saying that just to say that. Because I'm not going to call no shows out, but I don't listen to everything. So listen to these two shows because I'm telling you, I'm recommending them. They're highly recommended. Now, today's episode...
Definitely appreciate it.
No doubt. So, like I said earlier, today's episode is about sporting events that you can watch over and over again. Those events that you can go to YouTube right now and watch it and be satisfied with the action even though you know the result. Because right now we're in that dry period of sports where you may not have that much to watch. But I do recommend for basketball fans the WNBA. Let's not disrespect our ladies. Let's give them the support they deserve. But if you're not watching the WNBA and you're not a soccer fan, I understand this could be a dry period for you. So we're going to count down our top 5 most rewatchable sporting events. And just like every bonus episode, I want you guys who are listening to vote for which list you like the most. And I have a feeling this is going to be a very good episode because there's so many events you can choose from that you consider rewatchable and why you consider them to be rewatchable. So I think it's going to be a good episode, a very diverse list. So we're going to start with J.Oden. This is his first time on a bonus episode. So you're going to have the first crack at it. What is number 5 on your list of the top 5 most rewatchable sporting events of all time?
My number 5, man, let me first off say this was a very tough thing to put together. I mean, now that people vote on it, it definitely just added a little bit more pressure to me. But my number 5, one thing that I like to do, I like to go back and watch old NBA drafts on YouTube.
Okay.
My number 5 was the 1993 NBA draft. The reason being, it was hosted at the Palace in Auburn Hills. And the first pick in that draft by the Orlando Magic was Chris Webber. The crowd went nuts. I had goosebumps just sitting there watching that. I mean, that draft also had some okay players and some scrubs as well. Sean Bradley, Penny Hardaway, a few guys. But when that crowd heard Chris Webber's name at the first pick and went nuts, that sealed it for me.
Okay, now that's a very interesting pick. I didn't expect to have any drafts, but it is sporting events. So it could be anything. That's a very interesting pick right there. Now, it was a very interesting draft. Go back to that draft, the trades that happened. Like you said, it being in Detroit or right outside Detroit made it very interesting. So I like that pick. How you feel about that pick, Rashan?
That was a very good pick. And one thing I remember about that draft, and you can tell I was watching ESPN 30 for 30, this magic moment. Chris Webber was drafted number 1 by the Orlando Magic. Then Penny Hardaway was drafted by the Golden State Warriors, I believe.
Yeah.
And then they traded the two, and then the crowd started booing like crazy. You know what I mean? So that's the one thing I remember about that draft. Was that Penny Hardaway also was drafted and he got traded because Shaq hated the fact that they drafted Chris Webber. Shaq hated the fact that they drafted Chris Webber. They played the same position, so it was already foregone conclusion that they were going to trade for Penny Hardaway. So that was a great pick, my man.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing about that draft that made it interesting is that Shaq wanted Penny because they were on the movie Blue Chips together, and they felt that they had a good chemistry because they were playing real basketball on this set, and that's something that led to that trade. So there's a lot of things, a lot of movable pieces for that one. So I like that pick. So now it's time to move on to Rashan. What is your number 5 on your list of rewatchable sports events?
Well, Damien, you know me, I'm a big tennis fan. And you named this, this topic. The first 5 things that came to my mind are these are the 5 things that you'll hear tonight. So my 5th pick was Federer versus Pacquiao Nadal in the 2008 Wimbledon final. It was over 6 hours long. I mean, that was the greatest tennis match I have ever seen. 5 sets. Federer dropped the first 2, 6-4, 6-4, but then rallied back, 7-6, 7-6, and then the 5th and final set, Rafael Nadal outlasted, Roger Federer 9-7 to win his first Wimbledon title. He had to Roger Federer because I think he was going for 6 straight that year. So he was the 5-time champion. And like I said, it was 6 hours long, and the reason being because it was a couple rain delays. The war of attrition between those 2 guys, they fought like warriors. The fact that they had to sit back and wait for the rain to stop, but still had that mental, edge to go out there and compete to the highest I've ever seen, tennis players compete before, and Nadal winning his first, Wimbledon championship. It was just a great moment. For all the tennis fans out there, I'm sorry, I know I'm a brother. Not too many brothers watch tennis, but I do. And I love it and I enjoy it. So for anybody that want to watch tennis or think about watching tennis, go on YouTube, Google or on YouTube, 2008 Wimbledon final between Federer and Nadal, and watch that match, and I guarantee you'll fall in love with the sport.
That's a great pick. I watched that match. I myself am a big tennis fan as well, and that was a great match. And when you talk about mental toughness, like you mentioned, to first of all to do anything, like I don't like being at my 9 to 5 for more than 6 hours. So the fact that you was able to concentrate, that long, and be at that high of a level competitively for that long is a testimony to how tough you are mentally, man. It's a great pick. How you feel about that pick, JL?
I like it, and I'm also enlightened by it. I'm not the biggest tennis fan. I've seen it a couple times. Back in the day, I used to play the tennis game on the Dreamcast.
Ooh, top spin.
So now I'm about to, tonight, I always try to watch a video or read a little bit before I fall asleep. So I know what I'm doing for a little bit tonight before I fall asleep.
Definitely. A great pick right there.
Yes, sir.
So now it's time for my number 5. And I went boxing for number 5. Now, this boxing match I'm about to bring up isn't one that was your classic war that people like to go back and watch. But this one was a brilliant boxing display. And if you are a true boxing fan like all 3 of us are, you can definitely appreciate this pick. I went with Floyd Mayweather versus Canelo Alvarez as my number 5 pick. Now, if you remember the build-up to that fight, you had Canelo, who was the young lion, naturally bigger guy, who now fights at 160. Shows you how much bigger he was than Floyd Mayweather even back then. Because Floyd, the highest Floyd ever fought at was 154, and he never even weighed that much. So the fact that Canelo now is fighting at 160 shows you the size advantage Canelo had going into this fight. Canelo was undefeated at the time, 42-0, and had 1 draw. Floyd Mayweather was 44-0, but Floyd Mayweather was 35. My man Canelo was 23 at the time. So he has the size, the strength, the age. Now, Floyd, of course, still had the speed advantage and the smarts. And that's what we saw in this fight. We saw Floyd Mayweather put on a display of just brilliance. When they say boxing is the sweet science, and people might not understand it, like they might just see 2 people swinging. If you want to really understand why it's called the sweet science, go back and watch Floyd Mayweather's performance in this fight. And a lot of people like to say Floyd runs. But in this fight, he made a point to stay in the pocket. With this big dude, with all his punching power, he stays in the pocket and just schooled Canelo. And Canelo had a few points here and there where he got some connections, and then Floyd just would use that against him. He's like, oh, as soon as Canelo got a little aggressive, next thing you know, he getting countered by 2-3 shots. And it was just so brilliant to see. There was points in the fight where Floyd would dodge a punch and look at the punch after he dodged it. There was one where he made Canelo miss so bad. Canelo hit the ropes. The ropes went to swinging. And Floyd looked at the ropes like, dang, this dude hit hard. But he not hitting me today. And the display he put on was just incredible. As you guys know, I'm a huge boxing fan. So you see somebody put on a display like that of just defense, counter-punching, timing, the Philly shoulder roll. Everything he was doing was just technically perfect. I thought this was his best performance, at least up there with them. So at number 5, I picked Floyd Mayweather versus Canelo Alvarez. The one, that's what it was promoted as back then. But I thought it was an awesome performance by Floyd Mayweather that I can watch over and over and over again. How you feel about that pick, Rashan?
Oh, man, I love it. Damien, I came close to picking that pick. I came close to picking it. When I talk to people who are not familiar with boxing and wonder why with the big hoopla with Floyd Mayweather, it's 2 fights that I tell them to go watch. And for people that think Floyd Mayweather runs and this and that, this, 2 fights I tell them to go watch. That fight you just described and the Diego Corrales fight when he was younger. Those are the 2 fights that show the brilliance of Floyd Mayweather. But particularly in this fight, like as you explained, Damien, not only was he just dodging punches, Floyd had time to look at a fight that was going on in the stand. That's how dominant he was. He wasn't even worried about Canelo. Canelo was young. I give him that. He had a lot to learn, but he was billed as the lion. That's what they required us to go in there and out-hustle Floyd Mayweather, make him fight. Well, Floyd stood in the pocket, and Floyd schooled him, like you said, Damien. He frustrated him. I remember at the end of the round, Floyd wanted to touch gloves with him. He didn't want to touch gloves with him. It was just like, I never seen Canelo that frustrated. That was a great pick, and I'm glad I didn't pick it because last time, me and you picked like 2 for the same thing, so I'm glad I went with my second option. But that was a great pick, Damien.
Thank you. How you feel about that pick, J.O.?
I love it. Anything with Floyd in the ring only, I love it. I mean, one thing about Floyd is a lot of his fights over the last, let's say 10 years or so, it hasn't been that many, but they didn't always live up to the hype in the ring. The 24/7 and the all access was always the pride and joy of the fight. That fight actually lived up to the hype. Floyd was masterful. He was excellent. He did his thing. His jab, everything was working. He's the king of boxing.
Definitely.
No more to say.
Yes. And to add one more to that list that you talked about, Rashan, when people ask about what's the big hoopla over Floyd Mayweather versus Arturo Gatti. You go watch that fight and see the beatdown he put on Arturo Gatti, who's a legend. Arturo Gatti is a legend. Been in many wars. He was a legend in this game. And Floyd Mayweather dominated this man in his hometown. He went to Atlantic City and was like, I'm going to dominate you in your hometown. And he made his trainers like, hey, man, we just got to throw in the towel. Because Arturo Gatti don't have no quit in him. He didn't have any quit in him. But it was to the point where the trainers was like, okay, we can't let you get beat down like this no more. So, yeah, Floyd Mayweather, he has a few out there. But those 3 that we mentioned are definitely the fights you should. If you're a boxing fan, you want to try to find out why Floyd is considered so great, those 3 fights are the ones I would recommend you to YouTube. So now it's time for us to move on to number 4 on our list. J.O., what's number 4 on your most rewatchable sporting events list?
All right. So number 4. Now, there's a disclaimer in this. I'm a LeBron guy. I am a big, what they call a LeBron sexual. That is me. But I got to give credit to this guy. My number 4 happened back in March 19th, 1995. I was a youngin'. I was sitting there. All the hype was built up. Michael Jordan was coming back to basketball. He came back rocking the number 45 against the Indiana Pacers. He dropped 19 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. Now, Michael was a little bit rusty that game. He had a bad shooting percentage. But if you look at everything as a whole, one thing that was great back then, the NBA on NBC. Every Sunday, you're going to go to church, you're going to eat dinner, and then NBA on NBC going to come on, Marv Albert, Ahmad Rashad, and it was going to be some good games.
Definitely.
So my number 4 is that Michael Jordan, I'm back, wearing the 45 game.
Wow, that's a great pick. And like you mentioned, he was rusty, but it was just the impact of him coming back. And I was young at that time too, but I remember that's like when I started understanding what was going on. Like I was watching basketball, just being with my dad or whatever, but that's when I started understanding how great this guy was. And I was like, okay, I see it now. And it just all started to come together around that time for me. How you feel about that pick, Rashan?
Anything with Michael Jordan is great for me. I'm a Michael Jordan guy. That was a great pick. I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember that game when Jordan went up for a dunk, and he kind of he made it, but it wasn't the over the top dunk. And I think that was when Jordan realized that we owed up. I'm not as springy as I used to be. And then he developed that patent fadeaway jump shot. That LeBron tried to copy, but his is just uglier. You know what I mean? But, that was a great pick, man. I'm glad that a LeBron fan, finally gave Jordan some credit or something. You know what I mean? Even though it was just this comeback game, he didn't really give Jordan credit, but, I'll take that, bro.
All right, definitely respect for that pick. Who do you have at number 4 for the most rewatchable sporting events, Rashan?
Well, I'm glad you brought up Arturo Gotti because my number 4 is Arturo Gotti versus Mickey Ward, Part 1.
Oh, man.
Listen, I've never seen a fight where you can stop it at any moment and then you're like, no, stop it. Here comes this guy coming back. And then, the guy that you thought was going to be stopped is ready to stop the guy that was about to stop him. It was just unbelievable. I just hated the fact that it actually stopped. I hated the fact that it was the 10th round, but if any of you guys, and I'm sure you guys remember, that 9th round of that first fight was unbelievable. The body shot that, Arturo Gotti, dropped Mickey. Well, no, actually, that was the 4th round. We hit him with a body shot, but they called it a low blow. I thought it was just a great body shot. Then Mickey Ward hit Arturo Gotti in the 9th round with a body shot, dropped him. Arturo Gotti was out on his feet. You thought it was going to be stopped, and all of a sudden, the warrior that Damien said he was, he came back out, and he started lighting up for, the middle part of the round because, I watch a lot of boxing. But that had to be the longest 3 minutes I've ever seen in my life, because it was non-stop. And there was so many different turns to it. So, eventually Mickey Ward got the best of him. But, like I said, for people out there that want to see a great fight, go YouTube, Arturo Gotti, Mickey Ward, fight 1. All 3 of the fights are good because it was a trilogy, but the first fight set the tone. And that was a great moment in boxing. I think that was a great moment in sports history that night. Witnessing 2 warriors go at it, and somebody had to win. But to be honest with you, the viewers, the fans, are the winners that night. So I pick Arturo Gotti, Mickey Ward, fight 1 as my number 4 unforgettable sports move.
How you feel about that pick, J.O.?
I like it. I mean, Arturo Gotti was a bad man, and anytime you can get a trilogy out of something, it has to be good. And that first fight, it set the stone. That fight was cool. Third fight was good as well. Arturo Gotti is the man.
Definitely. Arturo Gotti was a beast. Mickey Ward got a movie out of it. They made a movie out of this because of those fights. Mark Wahlberg played him in The Fighter. So when you think about the fact that you got a trilogy out of it, a movie out of it, that fight definitely has some big implications. So it's definitely a great pick at number 4 by you, Rashan. So for number 4 for me, I went tennis. Me and Rashan been hanging around each other too much. We both pretty much alternated tennis and boxing. But for number 4, I went tennis. And the reason I thought about this match is because Rashan on my last bonus episode brought up Andy Roddick as one of the top 5 unluckiest people in sports history. And this match was part of that unluckiness, but it was a great match. The 2009 Wimbledon Championship Final. Andy Roddick versus Roger Federer. This match, I think, was less than 5 hours, but each set was like these 2 guys just throwing haymakers at each other. And we talked about on the last episode, our last bonus episode, how Andy Roddick had this powerful serve. which was great for the U.S. Open. That's why he got his one major there. But even at Wimbledon on the grass, he was serving the ball so hard that it would literally hit Roger Federer in the chest. Like the ball, when you know the serve is coming, like you're waiting for it, and you still can't react fast enough for the ball not to hit you, that ball is coming with some serious power. And he kept doing that to Roger Federer over and over and over again. And Andy Roddick knew this was probably his last chance to get another major championship. And you could tell by the way he played in this match. It was an awesome match. The first set, Roddick won 7-5. The second one, Federer won 7-6. Then Federer won the third one 7-6. The fourth one, Roddick won 6-3. And it looked like he was taking control. And then the fifth set went into what would be the equivalent of triple overtime for a basketball game. Federer won it 16-14, which is crazy in tennis. That doesn't happen too often. That's a crazy set. And there was one point in the match where Roddick had a chance to put it away. And Federer came up to the net and was on the right side. All Roddick had to do was hit it on the left side and keep it in bounds. Federer wasn't going to be able to get to it. He had the match won. And that's when that unluckiness came in. My man Roddick had the shot, ready to go, and hit it out of bounds. And you cannot give... you cannot give a great player like Roger Federer a chance. And of course, he took advantage of that chance and won the match. And not only was this match just great because it was great singular, but the match also was the record breaker for Roger Federer. He broke Pete Sampras' record for total majors. So the fact that he had to go through that type of match to break the record made it even more awesome. It's crazy, man. So I know J.O's not a big tennis fan, but you could add this one to your list as well of another match you could watch that would definitely get you into tennis. How you feel about that pick, Rashan?
I love it, man. I love it. Listen, that was the greatest I ever seen Andy Roddick serve. I mean, it was unbelievable. Like you said, he was just hitting. He was hitting Federer. All Federer needed to do was break him. That's all he needed to do was break him. Because Andy Roddick, for the most part, most of his points came off the serve.
Yeah.
Like you brought up, the fact that the game winner should have been an easy shot for anybody, he couldn't make it. You know, and that was the frustrating thing about Andy Roddick. He had an awesome serve. I thought he was athletic. You know, probably not as athletic as Federer, and certainly not as athletic as Nadal. But he was athletic enough to be kissing with those guys. But his floor game, I guess that's what you call it in tennis. It's just not good. It's just not good. And that was a great pick, though, man, because that was a great match. That was back to back. Because last year was the year before that was the Federer and Nadal match. So Federer had two, crazy Wimbledon games, yo.
Yeah, crazy. J.O., how you feel about that pick?
I kind of vaguely remember it. I remember it because of SportsCenter. And if I'm correct, which I might not be, I might be a little off because I was in college at the time. If I'm correct, that was like the second highest or the first highest viewed tennis final, I believe. At that time, I think they beat like Sampras and Agassi.
Yeah, I believe it was really high rated.
Yeah, and then I remember them talking about how it pulled in so many views overseas too. But I'm definitely adding it to my list of tennis matches. I got to get involved in my tennis. I see
definitely
out here. I'm definitely gonna have to get up on my tennis and see what's going on. But I do remember Andy Roddick because I was in college at the time. So I'm gonna definitely go back and check that one too. So that's two tennis matches on my list.
Yeah, both those tennis matches were crazy, man. Both, like, those ones that will get you into tennis. Because the rallies were so crazy, and seeing Roddick serve like that was crazy. Especially on grass. Like, not to get too technical, but the U.S. Open is the hard court. That's where he won his major. And that's where he has the advantage because he is such a powerful player. But the grass was even slowing his serve down that day. And it was just, you could tell he was going for it because he knew, I'm not going to be able to compete with these guys too much longer. Let me go ahead and try to get this major, and he fell just short. But man, that was a great match. So now it's time for us to move on to our number 3. most rewatchable sport event in history. What you got number 3, J.O.?
All right. So people who know me out there know my favorite team is the Oakland Raiders in football. I am a diehard Raiders fan. And just like I am a LeBron fan, and I gave Mike credit, this one has the Raiders losing. This happened December 22nd, 2003. I remember this because I was suspended. I wasn't suspended. I was getting suspended from high school because I got into a fight, and that was the same time as Christmas break. So my Christmas break was spent in the house while everybody else was outside. So this was the Brett Favre game when his dad passed away.
Oh, man. Great pick.
Brett Favre was 22 for 30, 399 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And for those who don't know, Brett Favre was extremely close to his father. I believe his father coached him in high school. And when he passed away, they gave Brett Favre the option to play. He wanted to play to honor his father. So not only did he play well, and he played well against my Raiders, I couldn't even be upset about it. I had to take my hat off and salute him. And for those of you who people who have lost their fathers, and his father played a major role in their life, that had to be extremely hard for him to go out there and do. So my number 3 is Brett Favre, the game that he played against my Oakland Raiders, and the day after his father passed.
And that was on Monday Night Football, right?
Yep.
I remember that, man. That was crazy. And it seemed like some of the throws he was making seemed like they had some help. You know what I mean? Like man, he's triple cover. How you get through there? It was a crazy game to watch. I remember it very vividly. That's an awesome pick. How you feel about that pick, Rashan?
Yeah, that was a great pick, especially for the sentimental value. Other than that, I can't stand Brett Favre. I'm sorry. Listen, the Lord was helping him that night, like you said, Damien. He did some passes up there. But listen, he needed the Lord to help him on a lot of passes. I thought you were about to bring up the Minnesota game that he threw, across his body, and it was intercepted. Wasn't that against the Saints, Damien?
Yeah, NFC Championship game. Yeah.
That's the game I thought you was about to bring up. But you know what? It was great because of his father. And listen, man, unfortunately, I never had a father in my life, but I did have a parent. And when I lost him, it was definitely hard on me. So I can understand how he was feeling at that moment. So that was definitely a great pick, man.
Definitely. Now, what do you have at number 3, Rashan?
Well, my number 3 is Michael Jordan's last shot. And now, the game was great in itself. The game was great in itself, but the moment, the magnitude of the moment, because you thought that was it for Michael Jordan. And to be honest with you, that really was it for Michael Jordan, because the person that came back and played, a few years later, wasn't the same Michael Jordan. That was the Michael Jordan, and that was his final shot, and I think that could have been the end of a perfect career. That was the perfect ending to a perfect career. That's why I hated when he came back to Washington. But, just even before the shot, the fact that he had to score real fast, and, within 4 seconds he scored, then he, doubled off of his man and stripped Karl Malone, and then took it down for the last second shot, which I believe he crossed Byron Russell off. I know a lot of people, especially LeBron fans, probably didn't push it off. No, that was a crossover. But, this is the shot and the pose and just the magnitude of the moment. Him winning the 6th championship, the second three-peat. It was just unbelievable that we all knew, especially people that loved the Chicago Bulls at the time, particularly Michael Jordan, knew that was going to be the last time you seen Jordan, Pippen, and Phil Jackson, because it was going to be a rough ending. So that was my number 3 unforgettable moment, Michael Jordan's last shot in Utah.
Great pick. I got to change one of my picks now, but that was a great pick. One thing that's underrated about that game, Scottie Pippen was hurt for most of the game. He got hurt like in the first quarter. He made a dunk and it aggravated a back injury. So he only contributed like 8 points, wasn't really moving well. So Jordan had to really put the team on his back for that game, and he scored 45. You mentioned how he had to hit a quick basket with like 37 seconds left, get the steal, then come down, cross Byron Russell with a little guide. He didn't push him, he just guided him to the side, and then he pulled up for the jumper. And it was an overall great game. You think about, one thing that's underrated about that game is Karl Malone's performance. Karl Malone led his team in points, rebounds, and assists that night. He had 31 points, 11 rebounds, and 7 assists. He was balling out, and unfortunately had that moment where he didn't see Michael Jordan come from the backside. And what's so great about that steal is that Michael Jordan knew that he could go back and get that steal because they ran that play earlier in the quarter, where they have Hornacek come down, set a little screen, go over, and then Karl Malone gets the ball right there on the block. And back then they had illegal defense, so he couldn't just wait right there. He had to make sure he doubled and came strong, or he called for illegal defense. I think that's something that's very underrated about that play. But great pick, man. I love that game. I literally rewatched that game on June 14th because it was the 20th anniversary of the game. So I rewatched that game, and it came on ESPN2. I rewatched it, and it was like, I could watch this all day, man. So it's definitely a great pick. How you feel about that pick, J.O.?
I mean, he pushed off. I mean, but that's neither here nor there. Back then, that's not a call. Today's NBA, that's an offensive foul. But, I mean, take nothing away from Mike. I think, and this is completely off topic, kind of, sort of, not really. But the reason I don't rock with Mike the way most people rock with Mike is because I like Scotty, and I feel like Scotty never gets the respect he deserved. But nonetheless, great shot. The magnitude of the moment, he was spot on. It's a defining moment in his life, and you kind of feel like when he shot the ball, he stayed there and paused, like, man, this is really it. So it was a great pick, great moment in basketball history, and it's going to forever be timeless.
Definitely, definitely. And just to give Scotty a little credit, if you guys have ESPN Plus, go watch Kobe Bryant's detail on Scottie Pippen and how he played defense.
Oh, yeah, I watched that. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I watched that. It was, the way he broke down his defense was unbelievable. But look, my man, I agree with you. I think Scottie Pippen and Damian, to be honest with you, I know a lot of people that may listen to this may think that I'm out of my mind. I thought Scottie Pippen was the MVP of that series. And I forgot about him hurting his back, and he gutted through it. And I think that was Scottie Pippen's redemption moment from the Game 7 against Detroit when he had the migraine and he didn't cut through it. He gutted through this because Utah had home court advantage. Had they lost that, it would have been Game 7. So he gutted through it. Listen, I'm the biggest Scottie Pippen fan too, and I do think that Jordan his greatness overshadows Scottie Pippen's greatness, because I hate the fact that they called him Robin. Scottie Pippen could have been a bad man for a lot of teams. You know what I mean? A lot of people forget. He was the 50 greatest, one of the 50 greatest players. You know what I mean? So I like the fact that you love Pippen, man.
Yes, definitely. We all three love Scottie Pippen. I'm still mad that Kelly picked Scottie Pippen as, was that the luckiest person show where she picked Scottie Pippen? I was very upset about that. But for my number 3, I went back to boxing. Now, the reason I picked this fight, it has a personal history with me. I was in the Navy at this time, and I worked with a lot of Filipinos. So if you know boxing and you hear me mention Filipinos, you already know where I'm going. And Manny Pacquiao, great boxer, Hall of Famer. I have nothing against Manny Pacquiao the person. But Manny Pacquiao's fans, I hate them so much. I hate Manny Pacquiao's fans so much. And most people don't really interact with Filipinos on a daily basis, so they don't really see it. But when you're in the Navy and you're stationed in San Diego, you see Filipinos all the time. And this is back when the drama was going on between him and Floyd. Were they ever going to fight? We didn't know. Floyd was accusing him of, doping. All this stuff was going on. So whenever they saw a black boxing fan, they just assumed he was a Floyd Mayweather fan. They didn't even know, but they just assume and come talk mess to you. So I was like, oh my God, I just can't avoid it. So in 2012, on December 8th, Manny Pacquiao fought Juan Manuel Marquez for the 4th time. Now, the first 3 fights were all classics. They all could have went either way. I believe Juan Manuel Marquez beat Manny Pacquiao more than just this one time. But he didn't get the other decisions. There was a draw and 2 Manny Pacquiao wins. But in this 4th fight, my man Marquez got his revenge. Now, just to give you some backstory on how I'm watching the fight, I was on deployment at the time. And we were outside of Bahrain. So the time difference is so crazy. We're watching the fight at like 8 o'clock in the morning. So during work hours. And because my station had so many Filipinos, people knew not to go there to get any work done. It was like, during the Pacquiao fight, you know they're not going to do nothing for you. Don't even bother. So because I was working in there, I got the benefit of that and got to watch the fight. So we're watching the fight. First 2 rounds, Pacquiao looks like he's doing his thing, and he's dominating. Now remember, Marquez came into this fight looking a little different. He had a different trainer. He came in looking like he ate muscles. Not just worked out, like he ate somebody else's muscles and just came on. Like my man was in there looking real buff. And we knew what the strategy was. Marquez came into that fight looking for a knockout. So the first 2 rounds, Pacquiao's doing his thing. The 3rd round, Marquez finally catches Pacquiao with his overhand right and knocks Pacquiao flat on his back. And it's the first time that Marquez's power really caught Pacquiao like that. Even in the first 3 fights where they were classics, you didn't see anything catch Pacquiao off guard that way. And you could tell Pacquiao got up, but you could tell when he got up, he was like, okay, this is different. This power is different in this fight. So the rest of that round, Pacquiao was kind of cautious and didn't really go in. 4th round, Pacquiao starts taking control again. And he's still very quick at this time. So he's going in and out of the pocket, hitting you with jabs, left hands. Because Pacquiao's a southpaw for people that don't know it, which means left-handed. So he's going in and out, catching you with straight lefts, catching you with jabs. And he's so quick. And Marquez at this time is a little slower because he buffed up so much. Come the 5th round, which is a crazy round. Pacquiao's going in and out, hitting his man. He knocks him down one time. Marquez looks like he's in trouble. Marquez gets up. Pacquiao gets him again and breaks his nose with a right hook. That's the thing. Some people forget about that moment in the fight. Like, he broke his nose to the point where you could tell it was broken. Like, it was kind of nasty. He's like, okay, is Marquez going to be all right? Is he going to recover? So Marquez gets through that round. 6th round comes. Pacquiao's dominating most of the round. Doing the same thing he was doing in the 5th round. Going in and out, being real quick. In the round comes. Less than 10 seconds left. Pacquiao goes to do his little double jab, in and out move. And Marquez catches him with the nastiest counter right hand I've ever seen in my life. Snaps Pacquiao's head back. And my man Pacquiao fell flat on his face. When you fall face first, that means you got knocked out. Like, you are out cold. And I never forget Roy Jones saw it right away. He's not getting up, Jim. He's not getting up, Jim. And and Pacquiao was out cold. Like, no count was needed. My man Kenny Bayless just called it off right there. And Pacquiao was out for like 5 minutes. And the joy that came over my heart to see all those Filipinos who've been talking all this trash about Floyd Mayweather to me in silence in the shop. You got to understand, there was like 20 of us in there. 15 of them Filipinos. And I'm literally the only one that's rooting for Marquez in there. And to see the shock on their faces when Pacquiao wasn't getting up. When you hear Roy Jones say, he's not getting up, Jim. He's not getting up, Jim. Oh, the joy. Man, it still brings joy to my heart. As you could tell by how glad I am to share this with you guys. Oh, I love that moment. Man, that was a great moment for me. How you feel about that pick, J.O.?
I remember that. I do remember that fight because I remember that whole series, that series, I ain't call it trilogy, because that was the first time I really understood that boxing is really, really corrupt because they kept cheating, my man. Like you said earlier, Marquez should have won a couple of those other fights. I do remember him being knocked out. I remember being at a bar with a bunch of friends, and he was all going for Manny. And when he got dropped, I remember this dude that was sitting a couple tables back from us he like dropped he had a big old beard. He just dropped his beard and started crying.
Dang.
And because he was a Filipino cat, and he started crying, and that was like it's one of those things that I could never ever forget. And I think that was really the end of Manny Pacquiao for sure at that time.
Yeah, it does feel like he wasn't the same after that one. How you feel about that pick, Rashan?
I love it, Damien. I love it. I also agree that Marquez, I think Marquez actually won the first fight, which was amazing about that because he fought back to a draw after being knocked down 3 times in the first round. So we had to battle back to 3 points. You know what I mean? I actually thought he won that first fight. You know, I actually thought he won the third. No, it was 2-1 Pacquiao. I think the third fight could have went, you know, either way. He did a third or second. They fought so many damn times. But, you know, that fourth fight, I love his description of it. I love how he set the scene. You know, using the Navy in the Philippines, you know, the Filipino people was just going crazy. And I had a couple Filipino friends. Yes, they thought Manny Pacquiao was Jesus Christ. You know,
Yes.
man, it was just crazy seeing him fall on the floor. But what I remember about that fight was that was during an election season too. You know, Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney was sitting front row, and when Pacquiao got hit, Mitt Romney put his hands out like he wanted to touch his face. So anybody ever watch that over? Just pay attention to it, because I like watching people in the stands and their reactions. When he gets hit and he falls, like you said, Roy was like, he's not getting up, Jim, he's not getting up. From the moment he got hit, Roy knew it was, hey, Roy, you know, he had experience. You know what I mean? He's been knocked out before, so he knows when somebody's getting knocked out. So that's a great pick, Danny. I love it.
Yes, like I said, that moment just brought so much joy to my heart. And the rest of the day, it was just quiet. Like, it was quiet in the shop. They were literally in shock. It was a great day to be. Like I said, I'm not even a Pacquiao hater. Like, I have no problem with Pacquiao at all. But man, being in the Navy at that time with the whole drama between him and Floyd, and me being a Floyd fan, I just would hear it every day. And they knew I knew sports too, so they would be like, "Hey, Adams," you know, they call you by your last name in the military, Adams. What's up with your man Floyd? Why he running? Every day. I was like and I was just so glad to see him get knocked out like that, just to bring some silence to my life. Yeah, so now it's time for us to move on to our top 2 most rewatchable sporting events of all time. What do you have at number 2, J.O.?
All right, so I'm going to give love to the college football game. I'm a former college football player. This is the greatest college football game ever played. The 2006 Rose Bowl game between USC and Texas. Now, just to name some of the names that played in this game: Vince Young, Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush, Jamal Charles, Lindell White, Dwayne Jarrett. I think between the two teams, it ended up being like 22 or 23 NFL players. Vince Young put on one of the, if not the greatest college football performance. 30 for 40, 267 yards passing. He had 19 carries for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, not to be outdone, but he struggled. I don't think he struggled, but he put the team on his back in the fourth quarter. I think it was 4 or 5 lead changes in the second half. I remember being in college, watching it with my teammates. I'm a USC guy. I'm a California guy at heart, born there. That's what my heart is. But watching USC take that L, you know, with Snoop Dogg on the sideline, Matthew McConaughey, Will Ferrell, I think Puff was there. There was a lot of people there. The game lived up to the hype. These two were number 1 and number 2 all throughout the year. Dwayne Jarrett, 10 catches, 121 yards, and a big touchdown. But a lot of that game is going to be remembered by Lindell White needing to get 1 yard, Reggie Bush being on the sideline, and they ran the ball with Lindell White, and he got stopped on 4th down. So that 2006 Rose Bowl between USC and Texas is my number 2 game.
Oh, you coming with the fire today, dog. That's a great pick. Like, that game, even for somebody like me who's not the biggest college football fan, everybody watched that game, though. And like you mentioned, it has so many NFL players and people who went on to be not that many actual stars, but like a lot of solid players. You know, the people that we thought were going to be, you know, NFL Hall of Famers didn't turn out to be that way. But so much NFL talent on those rosters, man. And such a great game. Vince Young, I believe that's the greatest performance ever in college. What he did between throwing and running the ball in that game, he was unstoppable. And USC's roster was a lot more stacked, I believe, than Texas. Like, Texas had talent, don't get me wrong. But when you think about that game, you remember Vince Young on the Texas side. There's so many other people for USC that you could think about. For them, you remember Vince Young. And Vince Young was just straight dominant, man. That's an awesome pick. How you feel about that pick, Rashan?
That's a great pick, man. I think that was the first college football game I watched in its entirety. You know, because I'm not a big college football fan. But, like, you know, it was so much hype going into that game. And the one thing I remember about that game is what everybody remembers is how in the hell did USC not have a spy on Vince Young at that moment in the game? Like, you know, for him to just be able to just walk into the end zone, like, you know what I mean? It was just unbelievable to me that they didn't have nobody covering them. You know, and listen, I think it was probably the greatest performance ever in a college football game as well. You know, and listen, the run for 200 yards in the national championship game against, you know, a team that was considered probably the greatest college football team of all time, had they won that, you know, because they were the defending national champions at the time, you know. So that was a great pick. I totally forgot about that game. That was a great pick.
Yes, great pick. Man, that was good. So now it's time for us to move on to Rashan. Who you have at number 2 for your greatest sporting events or most rewatchable sporting events?
For me, Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. But here in Philly, you cannot ever walk down the street and say that without mentioning Allen Iverson in the same sentence. Allen Iverson will never be Michael Jordan, never. But Allen Iverson had that impact here in Philadelphia. And one particular night, he showed the world why he was the greatest player on the planet for that particular night. And I'm talking about Game 5 against the Toronto Raptors, tied 2-2. Allen Iverson receives his MVP on the Wells Fargo Center floor and then puts up a performance of a lifetime, probably his greatest performance of all time. Coming off a 54-point game in Game 2, Charles Oakley said that he will not score 50 points again. Allen Iverson proceeded to go out in Game 5, a pivotal Game 5, because it was tied 2-2, and shoot 21 to 32 from the floor. 7-3 is for 52 points. Allen Iverson made Chris Child look like he looked like a playground player. And there's only 2 things Chris Child is remembered for from me. Is when he punched Kobe Bryant in the face and the way Allen Iverson torched him that night. He torched him. And that was one of the greatest performances, not just by Allen Iverson. You know, any player I've ever seen, including Michael Jordan, the fact that Allen Iverson was 6 foot soaking wet, nobody believes that he actually is 6 foot, 5'11", maybe, you know what I mean? But for him to be that fearless and to have the skill set that he had, to make shots. I mean, he was Kyrie Irving before Kyrie Irving, like, you know, because Kyrie Irving is known for making difficult shots in the paint. Allen Iverson did that routinely. And for that night, on the night that he received the MVP, he put on that performance. I think that was the greatest performance I've ever seen. So it's Allen Iverson, MVP night, Game 5, he scored 52 points. That's my number 2 unforgettable moment.
And that was against Toronto, correct?
Against Toronto.
That series was an awesome series to watch. And I was a Vince Carter guy. So I was going for Vince Carter, my brother was going for Allen Iverson. And both of those guys during that series were just going back and forth. You had the whole drama of him in Game 7, going to graduate at North Carolina, then coming back that night to play. Then he misses the final shot in Game 7. I'm talking about Vince Carter. That series is a whole rewatchable series when you think about it. When you think about those performances that Allen Iverson had and Vince Carter. I think that's an awesome pick, man, because that series, I was rooting hard for Vince Carter too. And I was like, I was so disappointed when he missed that shot. And if Vince Carter makes that shot in Game 7 and leads that team to what would have been the conference finals, and they beat the Bucks and go to the finals, the way we look at Vince Carter might be totally different right now, just on that shot. If you think about it, yeah, that series was awesome, man. And that game, that's definitely a rewatchable one right there. So I love that pick. How you feel about that pick, J.O.?
Absolutely. Allen Iverson was my man. He was one of my favorite players growing up. And I remember that because that's when they went to the finals. And I tell people this, and I ask people this. LeBron, my favorite player of all time, gets a lot of credit for taking some bad Cavs teams to the finals. But Iverson taking that Philly team to the finals, that doesn't get talked about a lot. That was a really, really bad team on paper. And for him to take that team to the finals, I think it deserves more respect than it actually gets. But overall, I love the pick. Anything with AI is going to be great. His first time in Philly, not their second time around. But I definitely salute it. I love it.
Definitely. And you know what's funny about that? Whenever somebody brings up, the worst teams to go to the NBA Finals, think about the 01 76ers, the 07 Cavaliers. The one thing they got in common, starting point guard, Eric Snow. I feel like my man Eric Snow.
How about that? Yeah, right?
I feel like my man Eric Snow gets so disrespected. Like anytime they bring up the worst teams to make it to the finals, my man was just starting on the team. That's so disrespectful. But I feel like that team was great defensively. And the 07 Cavs team was great defensively as well. Something that my dad brought up a few episodes ago when I had him on for the Father's Day episode. He thought that this 2018 Cavaliers team was more impressive. It was more an impressive feat for LeBron to bring the 2018 team to the finals than it was 2017. So before I move on to my pick, I just want to get you guys' thoughts on that real quick. Do you think it was more impressive for LeBron to bring the 2018 Cavaliers to the finals than the 2007? I'm going to start with you, Rashan.
I think it was more impressive for LeBron to do whatever he did this year. I thought he was the MVP this year. Now, I know you were James Harden guy. Damian, you thought he should have won last year. This is what I hate about the NBA, especially when it comes to awards. It's like the flavor of the month. What LeBron James did this year, and listen, I'm not the biggest LeBron James fan, as a basketball player. Off the court and everything else, and what LeBron has done in his life, I salute LeBron so much. The only thing you'll ever hear me criticize LeBron James for is him being compared to Michael Jordan. That's it. And that's only on the basketball court. Other than that, Michael Jordan can't hold the candle to LeBron James. So shooting shoes, nothing. So for that, I think that he deserves the MVP this year. His cast of characters was not good. This cast of characters. The fact that he had a whole totally different team the second half of the year. I mean, look, James Harden had Chris Paul. He had, Clint Capella, all those other guys, those role players, Derek Gordon, and all those guys. But look, who the hell did LeBron have? And he was in his 15th season. I think he deserved the MVP this year, but I knew he wasn't going to get it because he's LeBron James, and LeBron can win it every year. But this is the year where I think he just flat out deserves it. You know what I mean? So, I totally agree with you. I think this 2018 team was harder.
Mm-hmm. How you feel about that, J.O.? Was it harder for the 2018 teams to go to the finals or the 2017?
2007 was easy because number one, that team was really, really bad. I mean, what was that? The Drew Gooden, Sasha Pavlovich, Boobie Gibson, Ilgauskas was old. That team was bad. Larry Hughes was like his number two. I mean, and plus, what a lot of people get, 2007, that would have put LeBron at about, 21, 22?
22, yeah.
Me at 22, I wasn't ready to leave nobody. And so what happened was when he went to Miami, he learned how to win and came back. So I think it was more difficult. The feat was a lot greater in 2007 than it was this year. And a lot of people sleep too. Kevin Love had a really good NBA Finals. And I think I said it on your show, I said it on another different show. Nobody was talking about how bad that trade was and how bad the roster was really until right when the playoffs started. Because when they made that trade to get Hood and Clarkson and Nance, everybody was like, oh, yeah, LeBron found the fountain of youth. He's rejuvenated. They're going to be great. They came out. They whooped Boston. They whooped OKC. Everybody was like, oh, yeah, they're going to the finals. LeBron is this. But then right before the playoffs started, everybody jumped off that bandwagon. So I think roster-wise, the roster was worse in 2007 than it was this year. And to your point, he absolutely deserved MVP this year. But James Harden got snubbed 2 years in a row, so they had to make up for that.
That's some very good points, especially when you talk about his age. The fact that he was 22 when he had that game against Detroit in the Eastern Conference Finals where he scored 29 of the last 30 points. To do that at 22 years old and just take the team on your back like that is incredible. Now, I do agree that the 2007 team did not have as much talent as the 2018 team, but the 2017 was together for a while, and they had a chemistry. They were good defensively. The 2018 team was two different teams through the season. So I do think that both feats are impressive, and I think that really adds to his argument for why he's in the GOAT conversation, having those two teams on his resume to bring to the finals. I just had to bring that up. I thought it was an interesting conversation. But let's get back to the list. My number 2. All right, I had to change my number 2 because Rashan took my pick, but it's all right. So for my number 2, I'm going to go with this. It really hurts me to talk about this game, but it is a great game to watch, and it is a rewatchable. If I start to cry, don't panic or nothing. It's just the pain coming out of my soul. The 2017 divisional round in the NFC, Minnesota versus New Orleans. And for the people who listen to the show, I am from Louisiana. I am a Saints fan, die hard. J.O. makes fun of the fact that I have a Saints cover to keep the sun out of my car. That's how serious my Saints fandom is. My girl gets tired of all the Saints stuff in the house. So when I tell you that the Minneapolis Miracle truly broke my heart, it truly broke my heart. And to bring you guys there who don't remember why this game is so rewatchable, Minnesota's playing against the Saints, is in Minnesota, and they're dominating the first 2.5 quarters. Right? They get up by 20-plus points. And the Saints make this crazy comeback starting midway through the third quarter, through the fourth quarter, and take the lead. We were up by 1 point, I believe, 24-23 or something like that. And there's 10 seconds left in the game. Minnesota's maybe 65, 70 yards away from the end zone. They need a miracle. Case Keenum throws the ball up to the sideline towards Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs catches this ball. It should be a routine tackle for Marcus Williams. He was a rookie last year. I try not to hold it against him, but it's hard not to. He ducks as if he's getting shot at, and he misses the tackle. Still to this day, I don't understand what happened, how he missed the tackle, what was going through his mind. Some people say he was trying to avoid the pass interference. Just sit back and make the tackle. He makes that tackle. They don't have any timeouts. There's no way to get up and spike the ball in time. The game's over. We have a Saints versus Eagles NFC Championship game. But no. He ducks, like I said, like he's dodging bullets. Misses the tackle. Stephon Diggs is so surprised when he turns around and sees nothing but green in front of him that he takes a pause. It's like, oh my God, I'm about to score the winning touchdown. Runs, scores the winning touchdown. And it was the first time a Hail Mary ended a playoff game. And it became the Minneapolis Miracle. It's a great game. It's a great game. It's not something that I would rewatch because I don't want to put myself through that type of torture. But I think it does deserve to be on the list of things that can be rewatched, especially by Minnesota fans. I think that's something that they would watch all the time. Football fans in general, because it was a great comeback by the Saints. It was a lot of great plays in that game, man. Like there was a wheel route where Drew threw this pass to Alvin Kamara where Alvin Kamara went up like a wide receiver and caught the ball for a touchdown. So many great plays we made in the comeback that were just going to be forgotten about because of the Minneapolis Miracle. So that's my number 2 right there as I collect myself and get some Kleenex to wipe my tears. How you feel about that pick, J.O.?
I'm going to say this. My man Marcus Williams, I fell for him. I felt bad for him, man. This had to be the worst off season for him mentally. Like, that, what happens is, play too much Madden. And everybody who plays Madden, though, most people want to go for the hit stick. And I think he just mistimed it. I don't think it was him trying to avoid the pass interference because he's already had everything. He already had the ball. My man just wanted to go for a hit stick, mistimed it, and now he has to live with it. It happens to the best and the worst of us with a bad play. I mean, that was a great pick overall. That was a very entertaining game. I had a couple of friends who are Vikings fans, and I texted them early in the game, and I was like, man, if the Vikings win this, it's going to be crazy. And they told me to shut up. I'm a jinx. And so I did text them back. But then after the game, everybody was going nuts. Man, I just felt bad for Williams, man. That had to be one of the worst days of his life.
Definitely. And I had an emotional reaction. I don't know if people remember the video, but I was part of people that were attacking him. But I was a fan. You know, you have that moment. You just don't understand what happened and how he missed the whole person. But it's okay. How you feel about that pick, Rashan?
Man, I don't know how you picked that, dog. Seriously, I don't. Listen, it was a great game. Don't get me wrong. I hated the fact that, well, actually, I like the fact that Minnesota won because I figured the Eagles could beat Minnesota more so that we could beat the Saints. I was kidding, y'all running backs and obviously Drew Reeves. But, you know, I hate the fact that the Saints came all the way back. They figured out their defense. They had Minnesota on the ropes. They needed a Hail Mary, and they got it. You know, it was just, I mean, that had to be the most demoralizing loss. And I'm not even a Saints fan. I mean, that loss had to be so demoralizing. You know, for you guys to battle back and to lose like that, it was, listen, I feel for you, brother. Listen, I give you props for even picking, you know, but it was a great game, but unfortunately, you know, for the Saints, man, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, no, like I said, man, I had, of course, the number, Game 6, 1998 NBA Finals, but you picked that one. And I had a few other choices there, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to suck it up. I understand that this was a great game, and I can't let my personal feelings come in to this pick right here. But I had to bring it up, so it's tough. It's tough, but hopefully we make up for it this year. And Marcus Williams, Pro Bowl safety, calling it right now. So now it's time for us to pick our number 1 most rewatchable sports events of all time. No pressure. Who you got, J.O.?
Now, kind of piggybacking off of your number 2 pick, I went with a game that cuts me deep. It's continuing my theme. I don't know if y'all know, but my last 3 picks were all my teams, but they lost. So I'm taking this one back. And this one had some implications because this made me realize that everybody in the NFL was all about the Patriots. January 19th, 2002, the Tuck Rule game. This game was terrible. My Raiders had a chance to go on to the Super Bowl, but Mother Nature, Tom Brady, and them refs stopped my team. So, for those of you who know, y'all know this game is very symbolic. It helped change the rules for a lot of things as far as hitting the quarterback and making them fumble and things of the sort. But Charles Woodson came off of a safety blitz, hit Tom Brady as he was pump faking. Tom Brady fumbles the ball. Raiders recover. Nope. Referees review the play. His arm was going forward, and now we have the Tuck Rule. Now, some things about that game. The game, it was miserable. It was so much snow. It was just a miserable game. I think the leading rusher in the game was Antoine Smith. That's a name a lot of people ain't heard probably in at least 10 years.
That's a good forgotten player right there.
Jerry Rice. And for the Raiders, the leading rusher was Charlie Gardner. Another name you ain't heard in a long time.
Yeah.
My man Rich Gannon didn't really have that good of a game. I mean, it was snow on the ground, so he does kind of get a little pass for that. But I think he was 17 for 31. Jerry Rice had 48 yards receiving. That game was just horrible. It also took my team. I think next year we made it to the Super Bowl, but what could have been is just one of those games that what could have been, and it still hurts to this day that we get you, because as I watch football today, I still see little demons and little extra things that the Patriots get that other teams don't get, such as the Flake, such as what was that when they videotape the Eagles practice. There's a lot of different things that the Patriots with the Tucker game.
Yeah, man. These are two tough picks in a row right here. I definitely understand why it was so tough to bring up that pick. That game, it changed history. If that call is made correctly and it's called the fumble, the Raiders go on, Tom Brady doesn't get that first Super Bowl, we don't know what happens after that. Maybe everything's totally different. That one call changed football history. Such a crazy way to think about it, but that one call made all the other dominoes fall that you talked about. Crazy, man. But it was like you said, it was a difficult game, but it is rewatchable in the fact that it's history. So I definitely understand why you picked that one. How you feel about that pick, Rashan?
I mean, listen, that was a great pick. You know, I agree with him. You know, I think that Tom Brady, he fumbled the ball. Like, you know, he punched it. You know, he actually pulled the ball back in. And, you know, I don't think Tom Brady wouldn't have won the Super Bowl after that. You know, I think he eventually would have won one. But it definitely changed the course of history because it created a rule. You know, it's controversial to this day. You know, and, you know, it's tough, man. It's tough. I guess y'all got to stop because with my picks, it is all joyous. You know what I mean? So, I give y'all props, man. That was a great pick, though.
Yes, I love that pick right there. Now it's time for your number one most rewatchable game of all time or sporting event. I have a feeling where you're going. I'm not going to predict it, but I have a feeling where you're going with this one. Which number one, Rashan?
Damon, if you got a feeling, I'm sure your feeling is right. Because that feeling is good. Like James Brown said, February 4th, 2018, the Philadelphia Eagles finally captured that Super Bowl. And listen, rewatchable, I watched it at least 17 times already. 17! And that's not even including the replays, like, you know, the little match replays they throw on YouTube. I got the game recorded. I got the parade recorded. I got the post-game recorded. You know, listen, I've watched it 17 times, but the game in itself, you know, the most yards by the most yards in any game of any, you know, playoffs, regular season, the most yards in NFL history. Tom Brady throwing for 505 yards. Nick Foles, unlikely Nick Foles, throwing for 373 yards. Winning the MVP, Brandon Graham with the only stat of the game, a strip fumble. You know, Derek Barnett covering the ball, and the rest is history. We win 41-33. The emotion that was captured over the city is undeniable. It's like, you know, unlike anything I've ever seen before. You know, and I think we'll win, you know, probably two more. Hopefully, let's see. But we got this one in the bag, and this was the best one. You know, this thing, I don't care what anybody say. I know somebody said it was about 750,000 people. Please, there was 750,000 people on Broad Street. It was up the park. parkway. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Philadelphia. You know, we got this parkway that leads up to the Art Museum, the Rocky steps, where Rocky, you know, runs up the steps. But it's a gallery, you know, open space. And it was still, some other experts said it was like 3 to 5 million people there. You know, and I go with that. The damn sure was 750,000. But the game was just amazing, man. The game was amazing. You know, the feeling of finally, you know, saying that you're a champion. Especially in the division, the NFC East, where every team in the division has multiple championships, and you are the only one that didn't have none. You know, now we can finally say that we're champions. This city, listen, we celebrated the Phillies championship. Hell, we celebrated Villanova championships. We had parades for that. The arena football team, you know, but the Phillies, the Eagles Super Bowl was the icing on the cake. You know, I don't know if you guys can hear the emotional amount of voice, you know what I mean, because I still can't believe it. You know, I think I deserve a damn Super Bowl ring, you know, but hey, it don't even matter. The guys are world champions. I'm so proud of that team. I love the brotherhood they had. Nothing distracted them. They got leaders. They got great role players. They just got great people on the team. You can't find nobody more humble than Nick Foles. He handled that whole situation of coming in for who I thought was the MVP after Carson Wentz went down and, you know, basically playing his preseason games because he was out the entire preseason and, you know, led us to the Super Bowl. And that's a great team effort led by a great coach. So that's my number one unforgettable, rewatchable, you know, game in history. The Eagles winning the Super Bowl 41-33 over the Patriots.
That's a very good pick. Like I said, I probably had a feeling you was going there. Definitely don't blame me for that. And watching that game, it was crazy. I felt like this was Tom Brady's Drew Brees experience. Now, let me explain why I say that. Drew Brees, for a lot of his time in New Orleans, has been putting up these crazy numbers, getting 5,000 yards. And for a lot of those years, the Saints had a terrible defense. The years where the Saints had a decent defense, you saw what happened. We make the playoffs, we're a Super Bowl contender. But the years where we had those terrible defenses, we go 7-9. For one night, Tom Brady got to experience what it was like to be Drew Brees. He put up the most yards in Super Bowl history and lost. Because they couldn't stop the Eagles to save their life on defense. Awesome game. I feel like that's my case for why Tom Brady isn't automatically the GOAT. Because you see what happens when you don't have a defense. Everybody needs that defense. But congratulations to the Eagles. Like I said earlier in the season, if it wasn't the Saints, I'm glad it was the Eagles because I know so many Eagles fans. So congratulations. I'm definitely on for that pick right there because it is a great pick. And I definitely agree with that one. How you feel about that pick, J.O.?
Shout out to the Eagles. I mean, it's definitely a solid pick. I mean, Philadelphia, they was waiting on this for a very, very long time. So shout out to them. One thing that I do love about it, I love the fact that when Corey Clement and Zach Ertz got those touchdowns, Chris Collinsworth was pissed off. Yeah, he showed who he was going for. He wanted the Patriots the whole way. And when they got those touchdowns, because you know they had to be reviewed, he kept letting it be known. Well, we don't know what a catch is anymore. What's a catch? I don't know how you call this a catch. And that was the most joyous moment I had was listening to him be really, really pissed off. Now, another thing about that Super Bowl that I didn't like is when Brandon Cooks got knocked out of the game. Chris Collinsworth made a comment, and it rubbed me the wrong way. Because when he got knocked out, it was not one time that they say, you know, condolences go out to his family. You know, we hope he returns. We hope he's okay. It was never none of that. Like maybe 5 or 10 minutes after it happened, it was, oh my God, Tom Brady can win a game throwing to anybody. It's like at some point you have to have some type of humility. And this man, nobody knew what was going on, but his family has to sit there and watch in his hands on TV, his friends, and you just constantly, nobody's saying, oh, our condolences, we hope he's okay, we hope he gets back on his feet, we hope there's nothing major. The narrative instantly shift to Tom Brady being great and can throw to anybody because he doesn't have cooks or editors. And that really pissed me off. But overall, that was a great pick.
Yes, you make some really good points there, man. I do remember him, Collinsworth, like making sure that he brought home the point about those catches and how he thought they should have been overturned. But it was a great game to watch. Awesome game to watch. I was rooting for the Eagles, so it was good for me because I'm not a Patriots hater, but I'm a hater adjacent of the Patriots. Like I don't hate you guys, but I'm not really like cool with you either. Like we're not gonna go to dinner or nothing. Like if the Patriots was a person, we would just go our separate ways. But great pick, man. Awesome pick. So now it's time for my number one, and I'm going to do the same thing Rashan did. I'm going to go back to my happy time when a game that I've seen over and over again, Super Bowl 44, New Orleans Saints versus the Indianapolis Colts in Miami. And the crazy thing about this game is that season, these teams just looked like they were on a collision course the whole year. If you remember that season, the Saints started off 13-0. They lost to the Dallas Cowboys in their 4th-team game, and then the last 2 games pretty much just took off. The Colts started off 13-0 as well. And they just looked like the top 2 teams by far in the league that year. And the playoff run that the Saints had was crazy as well. You mentioned earlier how Brett Favre, Minnesota could have beat the Saints, but Brett Favre had to be Brett Favre, throw across his body, and Tracy Porter got the interception. NFC Championship game on my birthday. Best birthday present I ever got. January 24th, 2010. I was 20. Brett Favre gave me the best present I ever had on my birthday. And then a few weeks later, we play against the Colts. Colts are favored by 5 points. And again, I'm in the Navy at this time. In Meridian, Mississippi. I won like $400 because everybody's betting on the Colts. Everybody's like, oh, Colts going to win. Y'all ain't got no chance. They were favored by like 6 points. So start the game, Colts will go up by 10 points early. Easy. I'm like, oh, man. You know that. You know it's Peyton Manning-led offense. You know it's powerful. Reggie Wayne. You know, it's just a Marvin Harrison. You're like, you run into this juggernaut, Edgerrin James. And not Edgerrin James at the time, excuse me. They had Joseph Adahi at that time. So they're just churning and burning in the first quarter. Second quarter, our defense kind of gets their footing. We get 2 field goals. Going to halftime, 10-6. Coming out of halftime, Sean Payton makes the greatest call ever made by a coach. Now, Rashan might argue this. He might go with the play where they threw to Nick Foles for the touchdown, which is really good. It's definitely up there. But to come out of halftime and take the risk of doing an onside kick is crazy. Because if we're down, like I said, we're down 10-6 at the time. They get that onside kick on a short field with Peyton Manning leading that powered offense that could lead to the end of the line. But we get the ball on onside kick. We go on to score a touchdown. We're up 13-10. Then, in Peyton Manning fashion, he comes back down, scores a touchdown. They're up 17-13. We get a field goal. We're down 17-16. Our defense starts to lock up. We get a touchdown. I remember the pass from Drew Brees to Jeremy Shockey in the back of the end zone. And then we get a big 2-point conversion where Lance Moore had to twist his body in such a way, which is still a highlight, to even get the 2-point conversion. Awesome. We're up 24-17. Peyton Manning has a last shot drive to tie the game, go to overtime, or even try to win the game. Steps back in the pocket. Looks to his left. He has 2 slant routes going. Tracy Porter, defensive back extraordinaire for the New Orleans Saints, who had the game-winning pick, or the pick that set up the game winner in the NFC Championship game. He sees what's going on. He's watched film. He knows what's going on. He drops off of his receiver, goes into the passing lane of where Peyton Manning's looking, picks it off, 74-yard touchdown interception return to seal the game. I start crying right there. I don't care if you make fun of me. Men cry. Tears came down my face, and I was like, why am I crying right now? Why did tears come down my face over a football game? It's because my Saints finally got a Super Bowl. Who that said they're going to beat them Saints was finally true. It meant something. And it still means something to this day because of that game. I remember I was watching it in Meridian. I was in A school in the Navy. We watching it like this big hall. And my homegirl's a Saints fan too. She comes up giving me a hug, and I'm holding my head up, trying to make sure she doesn't see me crying. And she was like, "It's all right. I'm crying too." And it was all good. And it was such a joyous moment. And I wish our defense would have matched up to our offense for a few more years. I think we could have got Drew Brees a few more Super Bowls, the Saints a few more Super Bowls if our defense would have been up to par. Maybe we will get it this year. We never know. But that's definitely my number one right there. Super Bowl 44. Tracy Porter never has to pay for a meal in New Orleans ever again. Number one, Saints over Colts, Super Bowl 44. How you feel about that pick, J.O.?
Number one, that was a good pick. Number two, shout out to my homie Tracy Porter, Indiana Hoosier, a love.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to him. That was definitely a good game. I remember watching it. Being in Indiana, I mean, most of the people here are Bears fans. Unless you go to more like Southern Indiana, that's where you get the Colts fans. But I love Peyton Manning, and I hated to see him lose. But New Orleans deserved it, especially after everything that happened, with Katrina and things that city and the state went through. So I definitely like that pick, and I'm glad they got it. Couple of good dudes. What is his name? Marcus Colston, my man. I'm glad he got it.
Definitely.
Drew Brees definitely submitted his legacy as one of the all-time greats. So it was definitely a feel-good story and a well-deserved thing for a well-deserved team and organization.
Yes, sir. How you feel about that pick, Rashan?
Man, listen, I can hear the emotion in your voice, and that's how I felt about my Eagles winning. But, going back to yours, listen, I remember, wanting the Saints to win because of Hurricane Katrina. There's so much joy that I knew that team brought that town, and I hated Peyton Manning. Listen, my brother, listen, that's two strikes against you. We like LeBron, I like Jordan. We like Peyton Manning and Brett Favre. I hate both of them. You know what I mean? Listen. I just knew that Peyton Manning, because I always thought that Peyton Manning was always going to be compared with Tom Brady, and I never saw. Like, Peyton Manning was a great regular season quarterback, but once it came to the playoffs, he wasn't as great. In the 1 year that they finally won the Super Bowl, his defense actually played well, and he played horrible in the Super Bowl. I know it was raining that year, but so what? He still played horrible. And even against y'all, he didn't look that great, And I just knew that he would throw an interception because I knew he wasn't as clutch as Tom Brady, and that's what he did. And I damn near shed a tear that night, because I knew what New Orleans had been through. Now, listen, I'm from afar, and I know, the natives, felt it a little bit more than that, but just seeing, listen, my people, because there was a lot of black people down there, seeing tears for, run down that stage, at the Super Bowl, they showing shots in New Orleans, people going crazy, after, 3 years earlier, the town was devastated. So that's the one thing I remember about that, and I think that should be every New Orleans thing, fan number one, unforgettable moment, because it brought hope back to that city, and, into its fame, so I think that's an awesome thing that they did.
Thank you. So now let's get a recap for the people. Let's start with you, J.O. Can you recap your top 5 most rewatchable sporting events?
Oh, man, I forgot them already. I'm just playing. My number 5 was the 1993 NBA. Just listen to Chris Webber get that ovation. Say goosebumps all on my arms, or hairs was standing up on the arms in the back of the net. It was crazy. My number 4 was, I believe it was Michael Jordan, I'm Back game where he was rocking a number 45 against the Pacers on NBA or NBC with the all that. Mars Albert, Rashan. My number 3 was the Brett Favre game after his father passed away. He beat up on my Raiders. It was crazy. He was crying. His wife was crying. Everybody was crying. I was crying because I was going to get a whooping. So when school started back. My number two was the '06 Rose Bowl game, but Texas versus USC. USC, y'all let me down that game. Pete Carroll, that's twice you didn't put the wrong player on the field to make the wrong call to win a game. You did it with Seattle, you did it with USC. And my number 1 was the Tuck Rule game, Patriots versus my Raiders. Tom Brady. What more can I say? NFL loves you.
That's a very good list. That's a very good list right there. I can't argue with any of those picks, man. Go ahead and recap your top 5 for me, Rashan.
Sure. My number 5 was 2008 Wimbledon final between Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. Rafael Nadal won his first Wimbledon championship, stopping Roger Federer from winning 6 straight. My number 4 was Mickey Ward versus Toro Gotti. The first fight. Actually all 3 of them could be rewatchable. But the first fight in particular, round 9, you want to watch a boxing match, boxing, boxing fight. You know what the hell I'm trying to say. A fight where though it's not a boxing match, but a glove match. Watch round 9 at a Ward Gotti fight. The first fight. That's number 4. Number 3 was Jordan's last shot against Utah. His last shot in the Chicago Bull winning the 6th championship. My number 2 was Iverson's MVP performance, 62 points, 7-3, take a 3-2 lead over the Toronto Raptors. Eventually they went to the finals, lost to the Lakers. But that night in particular, Iverson was special. Shooting 21 for 32 field goals. So that was my number 2. And my number 1 is the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, of course.
That's another great list. You guys definitely brought it today. Let me go ahead and recap my list for the people. Number 5, Floyd Mayweather versus Canelo Alvarez. Like I said, it's not a fight where you get the slugfest of a Mickey Ward versus a Toro Gotti. But you get boxing brilliance. If anybody is watching boxing just to become a boxing fan, to understand it more, if you want to become a boxer, I recommend this fight and watching Floyd Mayweather's performance in this fight. Purely just brilliant. Number 4, 2009 Wimbledon Championship. Gave a lot of love to Roger Federer today. Andy Roddick versus Roger Federer in this one. 5-set match. The 5th set went into triple overtime if it was a basketball game. Crazy match. Absolutely brilliant play between both of those guys. Number 3, Manny Pacquiao versus Juan, Manuel, Marquez 4. For me, it was a great fight. And Pacquiao was winning when he got knocked flat out. He got knocked out to the point where my man might have been snoring in the ring. That's how bad it was when he got knocked out. He's not getting up, Jim. He's not getting up, Jim. Crazy moment right there. Number 3. Number 2, the Minneapolis Miracle. Minnesota versus the New Orleans Saints in the 2017 NFC Divisional Round. Crazy game, crazy comeback by the Saints to come back after Minnesota was dominating for most of it. And then for all that comeback to be for naught. Because my man Marcus Williams just didn't make the tackle, which was very easy to make at that point. Just make the tackle, we win the game. You don't know what happens in the NFC Championship. We don't know. And for number 1, Super Bowl 44. New Orleans Saints defeat the Indianapolis Colts 31-17. Tracy Porter with the game clutch interception return for a touchdown after reading Peyton Manning's eyes. And he had a great playoffs, that whole playoffs. Shout out to Tracy Porter, Indiana Hoosier right there. So that was our top 5 most rewatchable sporting events of all time. Please do not, if you're listening, vote. Let us know which list you like the most. It's tough. Say if I don't win, I'm not going to take it personally because these 2 came with it today. So I understand if you vote for somebody else. But it is my show, so you might want to vote for me just because the real deal with Damian Adams. So, you might want to vote for me. But now I'm playing vote for whose list you like the most. And before we get out of here, I got to get these guys to let you know where they can listen to their show and how you can follow them one more time. Let's start with you, J.O. Where can they follow you on social media, and where can they find your show, Call It What You Want?
Again, you can find me on Twitter at Oden, that's ODEN 2218. You can also find me on Instagram at J.Oden, ODEN 2218. You can find my show on iTunes. You can find it on Apple Podcasts. You can find it on Google Play. You can find it on the website at CIWWpodcast.com. Hey, Damon, before you kick it over, can I say one thing?
Yeah.
All right, so with UCLA lost some former basketball players over the weekend. Some mothers lost their sons, fathers lost their sons as well. Tyler Honeycutt and Billy Knight, they both passed away this weekend. Both dealt with mental health issues. So I just want to say, if anybody out there who knows someone dealing with mental health issues, if you're dealing with mental health issues, don't feel like you're alone in this by yourself at all. There's 61 million Americans that deal with mental health. The hotline number to call, if you ever want to get treatment for it, or if you just need somebody to talk to, is 1-888-411-3792. If you or anyone you know may be dealing with mental health, please make that phone call. And
yes.
I appreciate y'all for listening, and Damien, thank you for having me on.
Oh, no problem at all, man. I'm always looking for good guests that I know their sports. So I'm definitely going to have you on again. And what you said about mental illness is very real. All right. Everybody, we all know somebody who deals with it. If we're not dealing with it ourselves, we know somebody directly who deals with it. And especially in the black community, we have to not act like it's this plague or something that doesn't exist. It's not something that you just say, oh, they need to go to church or they just need to do this. Church can help, but they also need professional help as well. You need more than just going and saying, I need help. Actually get the help. And what is that number one more time, Gio?
That number is, one more time, it's the mental health treatment hotline number. It's 1-888-411-3792.
Thank you. Yes, that's very serious. If you need help, call a number, call a friend, call somebody who you trust, get the help, because we don't need to be losing people at such young ages with so much potential to do so much more in life when help is there. Rashan, where can people find you and where can they listen to the show?
Definitely, man. They can listen to the show every Friday from 7 to 9 on Blog Talk Radio called The Red Zone Live with Kelly and Rashan. Also, you can catch us on our sponsor station, goingfor2.com. You can follow me personally at BabyBlack1977 on Twitter. And I just wanted to say this, man. Look, that was great what you just did about mental health. I definitely think it's an issue that a lot of people try to shy away from, just saying, look, man, he crazy, he gonna be all right. No, especially in the black community. That's an issue with, people need help and, not being thrown to jail. Because a lot of our people get thrown in jail and, the mental health, get ignored. They view them as criminals, man. And it don't just attack, normal people. Like Anthony Bourdain, CNN. I used to watch his show all the time. He had a lot of money, had a hit TV show, traveled the world. He figured he had everything. And, ended up hanging and stuff. Had a daughter, ended up hanging and stuff. So that attacks everybody. All genders, all races, it don't matter. It attacks everybody. And for people, who, like my man said, who knows somebody, get that number a call, man. You don't want to see nobody, do something crazy, get shot, by cops or, do something to themselves, man. So that's a very serious issue. And listen, my man, you made a fan out of me. Damn it, I was kind of struggling with LeBron James and the Brett Favre and all that stuff. But, the fact that you brought that up, man, and it was a pleasure doing the show with you for the first time, and Damon as well. Thanks again for having me on.
Definitely. Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring us together. I always like to network and get people to meet each other. I figured you guys would hit it off, even though you got your differences about LeBron and Jordan. I figured y'all be able to get past that. And, you know, and rock out. Like I said, we definitely going to add Oden to our boxing conversations as well. Because, like I said, he's knowledgeable when it comes to that as well. And somebody who brings it on his show each and every week on the Call It What You Want show. Now, for people who listening, man, make sure you follow me at The Real Deal WDA. That's on all platforms, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, The Real Deal WDA. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spreaker Radio, wherever you can listen to your podcast. The Real Deal with Damian Adams is there. Share it with your friends. Don't be selfish. You know what I'm saying? There's enough macaroni and cheese to go around. Spread it around. Share it with everybody. And until next time, go real or go home.